Well, we hope you've had a chance to enjoy your breakfast, and they are serving coffee right now, so people will still move among you and keep bringing you the food. But we're going to begin our program now, and our first speaker is Pauline Ploquin, and she is the president of the Road Homes Board of Trustees. She's also president of Struck. She's got a background in communications, 25 years of experience in the creative and marketing industry, and 10 years of leadership positions. We're thrilled to have her here today. Pauline?
Let's lower this. Let's test first. Can you hear me? Hello, friends. So happy to be here. Welcome. A very warm welcome. It's amazing. We're all here in person. You're all real. In this world of hybrid and Zoom, I think there's something extra special about showing up in person, particularly at 8 o'clock in the morning. How many of you had to give up their morning routine to be here? Yeah, that's hard, isn't it? So thank you from the bottom of our heart at the Road Home. We really appreciate it. My question is, why? Why did you give up your morning routine to be here? Well, I'm not going to do a Q&A up here, because I've only got 6 minutes here. So I'm going to wager that you're here because you care. And you're here because you want to know how you can help. And that's really special, actually. It's really amazing. Just you showing up is enough. Thank you. That's more or less why I'm here. I care, and I want to know how to help. About 6 or 7 or 8 years ago, I don't remember when I started at the Road Home. This is crazy. It's been so much fun that I don't actually remember. I went over to our family shelter in Midvale to serve a meal. And I didn't know this, actually, but meals are not a given in our family shelter or any of our shelters. They're highly dependent on donations. So my group and I were donating a dinner and serving a dinner. And the residents were incredibly excited. And so they'd been lining up, and there was this just joyous mayhem, you know, in the hallway. And then when we opened the door, everybody just rushed in. There were these kids and parents, and it was just really actually a wonderful energy and moment. Then, as I was serving, I just began to notice this gentleman in the corner. He was a single dad. He was there with his teenage son, and there was something just quiet and humble and dignified about him. And I began to wonder, what must it feel like to be a single parent of a teenage son living in a shelter situation? And it really moved me. Actually, it moves me today, sharing this image with you. It moved me to tears. Maybe I remembered my father, single parenting us. I don't know, but it moved me. And there was something about the dignity and the respect and the compassion that the staff of the Road Home showed him and every single one of the persons in that congregate facility that also moved me. And I realized this is what matters to me. What matters to me is that we treat every single individual, regardless of race, socioeconomic background, culture, religion, gender, you name it. It doesn't matter, you're a human being. You deserve to be treated with respect and compassion and dignity. And that is the mission of the Road Home. Now there's a second why, and David James said, you should talk about this. So I do whatever he tells me, because he's really good at public speaking. And there's a second why, is that I'm a businesswoman. I have a business here in downtown Salt Lake City, a beautiful, fair city. And I've been, advising brands on their marketing. And one of my big passion and my team's big passion is to have an impact. And to be as efficient as we can be with our resources and to have the largest impact we can have. And again, as I began to find my way through the Road Home, like David, it took me a minute to understand. I was like, what is happening? But I realized one thing amazing about the road home: it never stops innovating. It never stops looking for better and better solution, a better way to serve our clients, a better way to end homelessness. It is tirelessly working their magic. And that is my second why, is impact. So I know you're busy, and I just want to make this really clear and really simple for you. There are three things we're hoping that you're going to take away from this incredible program. Number one, the need has never been greater. It's astounding. Homelessness is an outcome of prosperity. As David James mentioned, when housing becomes unaffordable, people end up on the street. It's a very clear correlation in our fair state, in our beautiful city, fastest growing state in the nation. And we're seeing it, we're feeling it. And we've done a lot of work to adapt, and yet the demand is outpacing our capacity. This is very clear. In a recent survey of our donors, 32% of our donors said they currently know, and this includes me, someone in their circle experiencing homelessness. This is astounding, isn't it? And yet 87% of our clients never return in our system. So we are channeling them back into homes, and yet more come. So the need has never been greater. Number one thing I would hope you can take away from this breakfast. Number two, housing is a solution to homelessness. This goes without saying, right? It's like, duh, yeah. Well, the Road Home has been doing housing for 12 years now. You all know us for our crisis management, our resource center, our shelters, but we do so much more. We have case management, we have programs, we have several actual facilities that we run, and more in the way. We're constantly looking for new ways to serve families and veterans and vulnerable people. A lot of exciting things. So homelessness is solved by housing. That's the number two thing I hope you can take away from this, and the Road Home does that. And then the last piece is, unfortunately, we need to still do both. We cannot stop funding crisis response. We have to continue to support the crisis response, unfortunately, as well as making sure that we have affordable housing so that no one has to live on the street. So how can you help? Well, I think you know, you can donate. I can guarantee you every dollar, every item you donate is going to go to serve more people who deserve it. You can volunteer. Come over, we're open again. This is exciting. The playroom is open at the family center. At the family shelter, you can come serve a meal. It's an incredible experience. Go to our website, theroadhome.org, sign up for volunteer. I'm selling you guys. Final piece, advocate. We don't talk a lot about this, but it's really important. We so appreciate our elected officials who are here, who have done incredible work, working with us and all of our partners to make sure that we have compassionate and dignified and respectful solutions for the people who are experiencing homelessness. Talk to them, let them know that you support them and we appreciate them. And talk to our legislature. They do hold the purse string. I'll just be very straightforward. Yes, we need donors, but the legislatures have a lot of power over us. So please talk to them, let them know, your friends and neighbors. Friend us, like us, repost everything on our social media. Because our clients deserve nothing but our very best. Thank you.
Thank you, Pauline. And I have to echo what you said about serving a meal. If you've never been to the Road Home to serve a meal, it's a great volunteer opportunity. It's service that's really needed, but it also gives you a chance to interact with the clients and give you a sense of who they are, what they're going through. If you've never had the pleasure of sitting with a TV consultant, only a couple of us have, am I right, Lincoln? It's a treat, everyone should do it. But one thing they'll tell you, which did echo something a professor said in school, is that 70% of all communication is nonverbal. And so when you have an hour and a half, and you're serving a meal and you get to interact with people, you will come away with a different perspective on homelessness. And our next speaker has taken that a step farther because she began by serving as an advocate out on the street, on a street outreach team, and interacting with the homeless and people who are having mental health issues, severe and persistent mental health issues. And she's now the Division Director of Supportive Housing for the Road Home. Melissa Broderick has had a long and varied career, and through her years of working with people experiencing homelessness, she's worked to create and sustain housing programs that meet people where they are and ensure that they have the resources they need to stay in housing going forward. It sounds pretty simple, and big picture it is, but the devil is in the details, and it gets really interesting when you do a deeper dive. And it's my pleasure now to introduce Melissa.
Good morning. It's so great to be with you on this very early Thursday morning. I'm so excited to talk to you about what our staff do. One of my most favorite things to do in my job is to tell you the amazing things that happen every day in our housing programs. I don't consider myself a great public speaker, but the things that our staff do, our case managers do, give me the courage to be up here and speak to you and tell you what they're doing. You often hear us talk about the journey someone may take from homelessness to housing and all the things that may happen. And sometimes that's where the story ends. They got housing, that's so great. But that's not where the story ends. Often that's where the story begins. While someone's homeless, there are many issues such as mental health, physical health, substance use disorders, schooling, employment that are often difficult to address while they're outside or in our shelters. While you are attempting to meet the very basic needs of just survival, you can't address some of these severe issues. Some of the households we've served have never had a place of their own, or it's been a really long time. So while in housing, we sometimes teach some of the most basic skills. A story I love to tell that's quick is when we were leasing up the Magnolia nearly 2 years ago, one of our case managers noticed that a new resident was just piling food on the counter. Some of it was going bad, all of it was just going unused. This case manager kept working with this person and they didn't want to share why this was happening. But after a little while, they gained some trust and they admitted that they were embarrassed that they didn't know how to cook. They had never had the opportunity to cook before. So this case manager took the time to teach them how to boil some water, how to scramble some eggs. They learned how to do some very basic meals. And now nearly 2 years later, this resident wants to cook for literally anybody that walks in that building. That's a really easy, basic story I could tell you. We often work with just some really simple living skills, but many of our folks, probably all of them, come into housing with more severe things going on for themselves. One story that comes to mind that I've been thinking about recently, because it really exemplifies the determination and the dedication our case managers have. This family had been shattered by some terrible personal tragedies, including the loss of the husband and father, who was the main source of income for this family. The mother, suffering from severe mental health, was struggling to support their 4 young children, and they found themselves homeless. After they moved, so they had a whole journey in shelter. Once they moved into housing, their case manager was there that day to assess what did they need. They didn't have much. They moved in with some clothes. They needed a microwave. They needed utensils. That case manager was able to go that day and help them get those things. But it was immediately clear for that case manager that the mother was struggling severely with her mental health. The school-age children were not in school. They were starting to get on the radar of their landlord because the children were running around unattended because their mother was struggling. Immediately, the case manager was able to do multiple things at once because they juggle many things all at once. First, they were able to get the kids enrolled in school, which sounds easy, but they couldn't find the records of where they had previously gone to school. So this case manager had to play detective and figure out where those records were and got them the records to the new school, and the children were enrolled. At the same time, simultaneously, this case manager is helping the mother connect to mental health treatment. Her mental health was so severe, she was sometimes not able to get out of her bed. Then she was also working with the landlord to make sure the family understood the rules of the lease so that they could stay there safely. And did I mention, this is just one of maybe 25 families this case manager is working with, all with very, very high needs. I could stand up here and tell you so many stories. I would love, this is my favorite part, I could tell you, go on and on about the amazing work our case managers do every day. But there are more families that are experiencing homelessness. There are more individuals out there that need housing. And sometimes the people that we serve struggle in their housing and they lose it. And then we have to help them again and again. And the case managers never give up. They continue to learn lessons for that family or for that individual. What's going to work this time? And they are there every step of the way. So from things like applying for Social Security with someone, to assisting with applications for utility payments, navigating the crazy Medicaid system, finding treatment for those struggling with substance use disorder, finding resources for children with autism. Our case managers stop at nothing to make sure people are successful in their housing. I really appreciate you being here, and I really appreciate being able to share a little bit about what our case managers do. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your generosity, and thank you for caring about the most vulnerable in our community.
I mentioned earlier, if you have a chance to volunteer and serve a dinner, you'll get to interact with a lot of the clients at the road home. If you ever have a chance to talk to a case manager, Melissa isn't kidding, the stories go on and on. The first time I heard, and I think we all bring our own personal story and background and what we've learned in previous years to the table. And going to the road home the first time, I was aware of stories of veterans. I was aware of stories of people who had mental health issues, people who had addiction issues. I was stunned to find out the number of people the case managers work with who, for them, this has been a lifelong struggle going back to childhood. Kids who have bounced around foster care and then gone out of the system without ever having permanent housing. And as they bounce around, the lessons they learn, there's huge gaps in knowledge. And Melissa was telling the story about teaching someone to boil water. I was told once by a case manager about having to teach a 20-year-old what a garbage disposal was, where a garbage disposal was, and how it worked, and why you didn't put your hand down the sink. So many people come with so many different stories, and it's easy just to look at the homeless and put one label on them. But there are so many stories and so many gaps that have to be filled in as we help people on a path to self-sufficiency. And so for all the case managers here today, all the people on the housing team, if we could have a round of applause for them and all the work they do every day. For the next portion of our program, if you can turn your attention to the screens on either side of the room, the folks at Gantry have prepared a video for us, and we want to thank them for their generosity in helping tell these stories. Thank you.
For some, a door is a new beginning, a way forward. For others, on the outside, it's a barrier to safety and security. Over the past 100 years, the road home has been opening these doors to those in need.
100 years of providing service in Salt Lake City and Salt Lake County. The road home has been just such a cornerstone of our community support over those years.
The road home is a resource center, and our purpose is to get people into homes.
The mission of that is to always provide shelter, always provide clothing or other necessities 24/7, 7 days a week.
We have always been the name in Utah for what homeless services can be, and we have always taken pride in that we are willing to not just do what we're already doing, but what is the next best step? We knew very quickly that there's no one solution that's going to work for every person out there. So we have many different programs, and because we were doing so many of those different kinds of programs, we started to really understand the world of homelessness and the complications that it is.
And I think a lot of the community misunderstood what we were trying to do at, 1,000 people a night.
When I started in Overflow, we were able to fit single men and families in one building that was 18,000 square feet.
We are proud now that we have had the opportunity to be more than just what a building constricts us in doing. Being in different locations throughout the city allows us to serve people with different kinds of needs. It also allows us to serve them better.
Housing first is something that people think is more complicated than it is. It really is a philosophy more than anything else. It's recognizing and acknowledging that what people are asking for is help.
And that's what we do. The Road Home is about housing. Shelters are a way station in a sense that you've got to have someplace to land for a few minutes and catch your breath.
If you don't address the very basic needs, safety, security, food, shelter, those basic needs, you can never even think about advancing and improving your life in those other ways.
We're trying to make a difference, and we need the community to help solve the problem.
So much of the funding that we do get from the government has strings attached to it. We know that the solutions need to be much more flexible than that. So we need flexible funds that come through the kind of donations that the community provides.
It's truly incredible, things that we never thought would happen. The amount of funding that's coming in for deeply affordable housing now, and the support that we have to run multiple resourced emergency shelters in our community, I don't know that we even could have dreamed of when I started this work. But the thing I'd love for you to really know and understand about the Road Home is that we never give up. We never give up on an individual. We never give up on changing the system.
I don't like using the word like we're fighting homelessness. We're not fighting anything. We're doing what needs to happen to our fellow human beings and the people around us.
So when someone's coming in and we're saying, how can we help? We're opening that welcoming door and we're welcoming people in with love and compassion and saying, what is it that we can help you with?
Our agency believes we're not here to just serve the easy to serve. We want to help every single person who's experiencing homelessness. Every one of them has a right to housing.
We're always going to overcome those challenges. Sometimes the challenges can seem so overwhelming. There is always hope, and it's incredible when I look back now, the amount of progress that we've made.
When other systems fail, we provide a safe refuge for those in need. At the Road Home, our door represents the possibility for change and stability. We have been opening these doors for the past 100 years, and we will always continue to do so.
Thank you to the folks at Gantry for putting that together. We really appreciate it. Our next speaker is the Executive Director of the Road Home. Michelle Flynn has been working to end homelessness since 1995, and she's been the Executive Director at the Road Home since February of 2020. And it says here I get to say whatever I want about Michelle, but we have to go at 9 o'clock, so I'll keep it short. All I'll tell you is that Michelle is like a lot of people on the staff, and that working for the Road Home, working for the clients, and working to end homelessness, it's a job, but it's also a passion. And she's dedicated to it every day of the week, around the clock. I won't go into it, but I've asked her to appear somewhere on a Friday night at 8 o'clock, and she's shown up. I've asked her to speak to a group Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, and she has shown up. I really think any day of the week, anytime, Michelle will come speak about the Road Home, and she's going to speak to us for just a few minutes right now.
Good morning. I don't even know that I have much to say after all you heard from these incredible speakers before me. You've heard about the Road Home, and you've heard how grateful we are to have you here. I want to say thank you to David and to Melissa and Pauline, and you'll be hearing from Sean next, for standing up and representing the work that we do and being before this group this morning. David's already thanked our staff. We do have staff who have taken some time out of their day, and I so appreciate you being here. Thanks to our development team and our IT team for putting this incredible event together. So thanks, you guys. Okay, Alicia, tell me if I have to speed up because I can get on for some. Okay. When I was preparing for this morning, I pulled up my remarks from last year and read them, and I thought I could essentially say the same thing. And what does that mean? Some of the exciting projects I talked about last year are still in the works, but we're still working on them. It shows that we're persistent. We keep showing up for our clients and our community. We're solid and responsible, and we run crisis-driven yet stable programs for 100 years. Crazy. We ensure every dollar is stretched and spent in the most impactful ways. We're committed to the intentions of our donors, compliance with our government grants, and ensuring we have a solid financial foundation to innovate and grow and support the programs that we operate. As you heard in the video, we won't give up. We will continue to pursue our proven and permanent solutions, even if they sometimes take years to come to fruition. As I thought about all that happened in this past year, I wanted to just touch on a couple things with you. We have seen the need for crisis shelter increase. We have seen those rents increase by hundreds of dollars a month for people that we're trying to help in the community and for many of you across our entire state. This past year, for the first time ever, we did not have enough capacity for all the families that were reaching out to us for assistance. But this is how we responded. We immediately convened with our partners to bring in additional support for families. Funding from Salt Lake City and the state of Utah helped us rent some more hotel rooms to expand that capacity. And we were also able to expand our street outreach team that works with families. We shared the plan that we developed with the Salt Lake Valley Coalition to End Homelessness and all of our incredible partners to completely rethink how we respond to families in crisis. And we identified crucial areas that needed to be prioritized, including seeking an additional facility that could both expand capacity and better support families so they could be in their own rooms. We have tremendous partners on this path, including the state, including Salt Lake County and Shelter the Homeless, our great partners working with us on this initiative, amongst many others. To address the increase in people living unsheltered in our community, our team stepped up this winter, adding 175 additional overflow beds at the Pamela Atkinson Resource Center, the men's facility we operate in South Salt Lake, and at the Gail Miller Resource Center, the facility we operate for men and women in Salt Lake City, on top of running our Legacy Overflow program at the St. Vincent de Paul Center. We were responsive. Our team is incredibly responsive and flexible to the changing needs, and switched after just a short time from providing overnight shelter only to providing shelter 24/7 for those individuals who were staying now on cots in our program rooms in those facilities. They could then have access to those hot meals and case management and other supports that our team could provide. We always keep that focus on permanent solutions, continuing to share the story of homelessness and the need to ensure, as Pauline said, crisis programs are steady, resource-oriented, and sufficient, along with the need for continuing and increased investment in housing that is affordable for everyone at every income level. And we have seen tremendous progress on that front just in the last couple of years, with huge investments from Salt Lake City and Salt Lake County and the state of Utah, thanks to many of our friends who are here in the room this morning. Despite the most expensive housing we have literally seen ever, the entire team at the Road Home, I'm looking at my housing team back there, continue to help people step out of homelessness each day, scouring the county for every available unit that might work, and working with families and individuals to eliminate those barriers that keep them from moving into their own home. In fact, just a couple months ago, our family shelter teams worked together and moved 25 families out in 1 month. It was incredible. What we see now is that families need more help, and they need help for longer. Our rental assistance goes more quickly and spread out among fewer families as these costs have increased. Short-term programs that worked well a few years ago are no longer sufficient to meet the increases in rent and expenses in our community. We have, and have for the past 100 years, been an agency that leads with those support services and case management, and we're committed to continuing to ensure that those are part of every program that we do. Over this next year, you're going to continue to see us pushing forward, reimagining how we're doing permanent supportive housing with both families and single adults. You'll see us working with our partners to launch an expanded and better resourced crisis program so we can connect every family with the help that they need, and launch the program we've been talking about for some time to help medically vulnerable and older adults stay somewhere other than a congregate shelter and get that help and support from our team as well as our partners at 4th Street Clinic. We recognize that although we're a crucial part of the crisis response system, we don't have the control over this increasing need in our community. And I know we all agree it is better in our community to keep people in housing and connected with supports in the first place than have them show up at our front door. Over this next year, we will continue to work and advocate for the changes needed to keep people stably housed and thereby reduce the need for emergency shelter. Finally, with your support, along with many others, we will ensure that our agency is stable and filling our role in the community to help ensure a safe, vibrant community for everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your friendship. And thank you for the opportunity to serve this incredible agency.
Thank you, Michelle. You got a little taste of the passion and emotion that Michelle puts into it, but I will warn you, don't cross her, because you should have seen the look she gave me right over there when we passed. Daggers, that was awesome. Glad I didn't cross the line any further. One thing that Michelle touched on is that she said the same things, some of the same things this year that she said a year ago. And I know one frustration among volunteers, donors, government officials, okay, everybody, is that if we put so much time and effort into this, why is there still homelessness? And the answer to that, I think, is a couple of things, but mostly it's because of what's happened in our society, things that are out of the control of any one person. One thing I learned working with the Road Home was that there are about 300 kids a year after year, I learned this about 15 years ago, who age out of foster care at the age of 18, never having had a permanent supportive youth in the way that many of us think of our youth. And that those folks have a 50-50 chance of ending up homeless. And also my father-in-law passed away this year. He had Alzheimer's for the last 3 years of his life. And I've known him for more than 30 years. And what we didn't find out until he had Alzheimer's, we knew he was a vet. He went to the Naval Academy and he did active duty and they had kids and he got out. And we always thought that was the story. Until he had Alzheimer's, he let slip what he had kept compartmentalized for 60 years. And we still don't know all the details of what he saw or what happened, but it was horrific. And when he started blurting it out, one thing I thought about with the Road Home is, how did he not end up at a place like the Road Home? As a vet, what did he go through? And we got a portion of the story. We'll never get all of it. But for all the vets who are served at the Road Home, and for the vets they'll serve, the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq are over. But for my father-in-law, Vietnam went on for the rest of his life, for another 60 years. And so to all the people we applauded, all the case managers earlier, you didn't have to deal with my father-in-law, but you probably had to deal with somebody who served with him. And that will continue on in the future. So no matter how hard we work, there will be new people coming into the system. So we can't get frustrated by that, because in that regard, the die's already been cast. The only question is, how will we respond? And our next speaker will respond again and again and again. Sean Newell is currently serving as a vice president of business development at an industrial supply company. That would be a full-time job, but Sean also serves as a community integrator in a variety of capacities, including vice president of the Salt Lake branch of the NAACP, the executive board of the Utah Black Roundtable, and he heads the Utah Multicultural Civic Council. He's also a board member for the Road Home. He's busy, but he's going to give us about 10 minutes of his time right now. Sean?
Good morning. Good morning. I worked all the way up here, and as hard as it was, nobody would say good morning to me. Ouch. I'm moving slow. I had a knee replacement about 4 weeks ago, so I'm taking my time to, I didn't want to stumble up here. That would have been a great entrance, and I don't want to make everybody laugh this morning. I was asked, why do I serve the road home? And for me, it was really simple. I had to remember that we are our brother and sister's keeper. And because of that mindset, I knew that it was important for me to get involved. And if anybody knows Chris Acton, it's hard to say no to him when he calls you and says, I have something I need you to do. One of the things that is really important for us to consider, all of us that are here this morning and everyone that's in our community, is that there are a number of intersections that impact each and every one of us. People cross our paths. We don't know what their burdens are each and every day. And not knowing those burdens gives us an opportunity to be able to share in humanity and understanding that as a part of a village, we can share amongst ourselves a concern and a willingness to be able to help each other's lives become better each and every day. And as the road home serves our homeless community, we here are some of the stakeholders and some of the drivers of our community in a number of different ways, from economics to politics to simply volunteering, and that's important. When I talk about volunteering, I'm talking about the opportunity for each and every one of us to serve in a greater capacity to help this great entity continue to grow. I get to have the benefit of looking for folks that want to volunteer to be on some of our committees, and today is a good time to volunteer. But one of the most important things is we need your financial support. And as you can see from your tables, and has been spoken to a couple of times, it costs as little as $32 to house someone for a night, and $100 to house a family for a night. That is incredibly important for those that we're serving. So at this time, I'd like to invite everybody to show your support for the road home. And we can do this in a number of different ways. You can make small donations, you can make large donations. You can donate one time, but you can also donate on a continuous basis, which will definitely help us to continue the work that's being done by our fantastic staff and the leadership of this entity. We're excited to give you several options and several ways to be able to donate. And one of the ways is the easy, simple way: cash, check, credit card. And if you look at your tables, you have a barcode there, and you also have a folder there that allows you to be able to make those donations. You can also donate online, which is a great way to give. And this can be done with Venmo, what is it called? PayPal. I don't do any of those because I'm afraid somebody's going to steal from me. My kids do, and I'm not going to give them any money that way either. If you need assistance, we also have our entire staff here to help you to be able to navigate how to be able to give today. But again, I wanted to just emphasize to you the consideration of humanity and the work that's being done here, the hard work that's being done here each and every day. We have some of our mayors here visiting us, other political contributors to our state. They understand this. They understand the work that's being done. They're doing some hard work at the ground, and we need to support them as a community so that they can help support the road home. But again, I want to thank you for being here today. I think we're right on time. Thank you, Mr. James. You know, I'm good at this. And I want to thank everybody for being here again, and it's great to see everyone out here this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean. We appreciate it. That is going to conclude our program for today. We want to thank OC Tanner once again for underwriting this entire event. So every dollar you donate will go to providing services to the clients at the Road Home. So thank you to OC Tanner for their support. Thank you to all of our speakers today for sharing their stories as well. As you leave, you can speak with your table captains. You got the materials in front of you. I want to thank you also for donating an hour of your time here this morning, and look forward to seeing you at the Road Home in the coming year. Thank you and have a good day.